So you've created an incredible piece of music and you want to know about the registration process in terms of the TV film music licensing business. Should you register it? Should you send it to a library to get it registered? Should you call up BMI or ASCAP and have them register it for you? What's the process like? What's the smart way to do this? Okay, first of all, let's understand what the registration process is with a PRO, a performing rights organization, okay? It is not a copyright. When you send your track to ASCAP or BMI, you're not getting any legal protection from them, okay? And also, you are not actually sending an MP3 or a WAV file to BMI or ASCAP. All you're doing when you register a song with a PRO is you're uploading a bit of metadata, which is going to include the track title, some information about if there's an artist that's performing on it, you, the writer, the composer, or maybe another composer as well if you co-wrote the song, a publisher. If there's no publisher associated with your track, then the writer or the writers are going to be associated with the track as the publishers. Okay, just so you know, there's a big question out there about if I don't have a publisher, is that money just going to get lost? No. If there's no publisher associated with your track and it gets placed, that publishing money would default go to whoever the writer is on the track. Okay. But that's what you're doing when you're registering a track with ASCAP or BMI. You're basically giving them this metadata so that they can eventually track that song and get you paid in the long run, okay, in the future. That's all you're doing. So it's a vitally important thing to get done so that you do get your royalties, okay? So you're in this business to make money, obviously, and make great music, but without those royalties, you can't keep making music. So it's a really, really important thing to make sure your tracks do get registered. Now, the next question is, should you register those tracks? Here's my take on that. If you have a direct relationship with somebody who can get your tracks placed, okay, and they're not registering the tracks themselves, nobody on their end is going to be registering the tracks, yes, then at that point, you need to be registering your tracks yourself. Now, this is probably less than 5% of the situation that you're going to come across in the licensing business, just to be honest with you. Unless your uncle happens to be some producer or director in Hollywood, it's very rare that you're going to have a direct relationship with somebody who's producing a TV show or an ad campaign or something like that. Now, if you do know somebody and you are in that boat and they're not going to be registering it because they don't have a publishing company to be associated with it, then yes, you need to take that upon yourself. Go to BMI and ASCAP's website, and there are links on each of their websites to register your tracks. And I'll actually put those links below in the description of this video. Now, for the 95% of you, and this is how I got started, you're going to be sending your music primarily to music libraries, okay? Now, a music library will, by default, have a publishing company that they have set up. They might have multiple publishing companies that they have set up under their company, okay? So it doesn't make sense for you to go in once you complete a song, let's say, and you haven't been accepted by a library yet, go and register that track if it's not going to be distributed yet in any library, because what are the chances of that track landing on a TV show? Zero, because you have no relationship set up. You don't even have your track out there in the system. So great, you got a track registered, but there's zero chance of making any royalties off of that. So it doesn't make any sense to register your track before it's been accepted by something, some company, some library or catalog or music supervisor out there that's actually actively able to shop your song into, potentially get a placement for you, right? So usually how it works in the licensing business for newcomers and for people who are just getting started is you're going to be sending your tracks to a library and they will be handling all the registration process, okay? The reason why that usually is the case is because they want to make sure they have a vested interest in making sure that their publishing company gets correctly assigned to your track. Okay, usually how it works in this business, you keep your writer share, they're going to keep the publisher share. It's sort of a 50-50 split. You're supplying the content, they're supplying the opportunities and the placements, and obviously the hosting and categorizing and the metadata and making sure that their clients can find your track, et cetera, et cetera. So they're handling a lot of the business aspects of it, you're handling the creative aspects of it, and boom, everybody makes money. It's a beautiful situation, okay? Now, once your track is up in their catalog, obviously now you have a potential to get a placement, and that is the situation where and when a library actually will then register your tracks, okay? So they're going to make sure that you are placed as the writer, or if you have multiple writers, whoever the writers are, you need to specify that to the library, and then they're going to put their publishing company associated with that track, okay? Now, your job is to log in. Sometimes it can be a couple of weeks, sometimes it can be multiple months, okay? So there are backlogs that happen. So sometimes a library will wait to, let's say, collect 4 or 5 different albums from all their writers, and they'll have 50 tracks. So they're not going to necessarily register each album as it gets done, but maybe at the end of the month when all the tracks are up there, and in their catalog. Then they do a batch upload of all the registrations. And sometimes they have an intern do it. Sometimes they have an employee do it. It's basically the boring stuff that nobody wants to do in this business. So your job is basically to just continuously log into your BMI or ASCAP account, look at your catalog, look at the works that have been registered to you, and make sure that the tracks that you have in a current library catalog is actually showing up and showing you as the writer. That's your job, is to double check on that. Now again, if you don't see it in a month, does that mean they forgot about you and it's never going to show up? No, not necessarily. It could be that they have a long batching process, that they wait a month or two before they upload. Also, BMI and ASCAP have sometimes a massive backlog where it takes them a month or a month and a half to finally get all of those tracks uploaded, because they have to have somebody manually go in and also approve of all those tracks. Okay, so it takes time. This is a slow moving business. Unfortunately for now, maybe in the future we'll have some faster processes, but for now it's pretty snail's pace. It's really, really slow. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, just relax for a little bit. And just make sure you're logging in maybe every 2 weeks and kind of checking in. If a couple of months go by and you don't see your tracks showing up that you've already been accepted by a library, it might be worth an email, asking them, what's the situation? What is your process for getting tracks registered? I noticed I haven't seen them yet. What can I do about that? Also, if you're in a foreign PRO, okay, so if you're one of my subscribers here and you're in another country and you're working with a US company, you also might have an even longer delay, because for the time of BMI or ASCAP to get their stuff registered, and then for your PRO to get that data imported into their system, could be another couple of weeks or a month. So you might be having to call a couple of different PROs, your local one in your country and also ASCAP or BMI, okay? So it can take a while, but you just need to make sure you do your due diligence and log in and double check to make sure your tracks do show up registered. That's essentially your job, okay? So hopefully that explains the registration process. Now let's talk about non-exclusive libraries. If you send your track to a non-exclusive library and they go, hey, thanks, we're going to take your track and you can also get that track registered elsewhere. Usually what needs to happen is they're going to still register your track, and they're going to have a title for it, or they're going to use the title that you supplied for them. Let's say it's called, Cool Awesome Track. So they're going to register it with their publisher under the name Cool Awesome Track. That's the title that they've registered. Now, when you take that same track, musical piece of, that WAV file, and you go to another library, you cannot call it Cool Awesome Track again, right? Because there's already a track in BMI ASCAP system that has it under that name. So you're going to a new company, which means you need to now give this song a new title. It's almost like it's a brand new piece of music, even though it's actually physically not. In reality, it's not. In registration terms, it does need to be labeled a new title. Okay, so when you shop it to another non-exclusive library, do not use the same title you use for the other one. You need to call it now a Great Amazing Track, whatever you want to call it, but have a different title. Now, when they take it, they're going to register Great Amazing Track with their publishing company. Okay, so you understand that these are now treated as two distinct pieces of music, even though they are exactly the same. Now, some people think, well, why wouldn't you just have that as approach for the music licensing business? Just do 100 songs and just have them distributed in tons and tons of different libraries. Well, the problem is with a lot of these non-exclusive libraries is they're starting to lose some of their clients, because the clients are realizing you guys all have the same music. The music that I can get here is the same music I can get there, and if I can get a cheaper deal with them, I'll go with them. So it's kind of a race to the bottom with these non-exclusive libraries. A lot of them are now switching their business models, and they're now doing exclusive deals. And I usually have found in my career the exclusive libraries are the ones that find to get me the biggest placements, the most amount of placements, and they have the strongest relationships out there because they keep their content lock and key. And when you have exclusive content, usually it's because you have high quality content that nobody else has access to. And a lot of times the clients that they're working with know that, and that's why they stick with them for a long period of time, because they love the music that they're getting. So I do recommend that you focus primarily on exclusive libraries. You can also feed some non-exclusive libraries on the side, maybe stock libraries, the royalty-free libraries as they're sometimes called, as well, for maybe some tracks that don't get accepted. But primarily those exclusive libraries are the ones that are going to get you those bigger placements and those better relationships down the line.